Get more in here. Are we live?
Oh, I think we're live. Okay. Hey, guys. Hey. We are in Toronto for the International Lactation Consultant Association conference. So sorry about the delay. We had everything all set up to be at this beautiful outdoor location with these fountains behind us and all these wonderful things. And then, we get out there and our
Wi-Fi did not come in. We had this really great looking like Toronto sign behind us. But yeah, so basically it was a bust. Ran across the street. I think we jaywalked.
Yeah, I hope that's okay in Canada.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the rules are. You know, a whole other country. What are the rules? I don't know. And but we're inside the hotel now.
Yeah, but we'll post some pictures in the comments of where we were going to do our podcast. It was gorgeous.
Yes.
So thanks for sticking with us.
So why are we here in Toronto in the first place?
So we love to learn more about breastfeeding and how to support that in all different women, and that's why we're here in Toronto.
Yeah.
For the International Lactation Consultant Conference. We call it the ILCA conference. And
the big one.
The big one. So there's ladies and gentlemen here from all over the world, and we're all here for one reason. That's to learn more about breastfeeding, learn more about infant nutrition, how to essentially give our babies the best nutrition that we can, and how to help moms do that.
Ultimately, how to help moms. These lactation consultants, they are, it's a little hard to hear us. Do you guys turn the volume up? I got the volume all the way. Let's get a little closer.
Okay. Up close and personal.
Wow. Okay. Up close and personal.
Tiffany.
Are you hearing us a lot better? I hope so.
I'm just half a face.
Well, if you scooch closer, she acts like I have a disease or something. There we go.
She smells great, actually.
So, yeah, I mean, the most important thing is that these lactation consultants here at ILCA are learning about how to help moms.
Right, exactly. And research is being presented from everywhere, and we're getting some great ideas. We collaborate with a lot of people that we need to bring you the best information and the latest stuff from all over the world. So be sure and stay tuned to Boob Tube month after month. Read the Milky's blog. Just look for our new stuff. Everything is things that we think is going to be helpful.
That we hope
to you moms.
Can be helpful. Yes.
Exactly.
And actually today we're actually talking about something really, really important is postpartum depression.
Yeah, we're talking about it because it's really underdiagnosed, and it's something that can make mothers just feel really incompetent and alone and isolated. So it's important for us that we are going to kind of spread the word about that and why it's important to know the symptoms for yourself, but also for your community, for your friends and your sisters and everyone else that you know that is at risk for postpartum depression.
We're going to do something, Helen. Okay. Oh my gosh. This is so...
Well, the lighting's a little bit.
There you go. Oh, there you go. You're going to have to sit on the floor.
Okay.
All right. We're in this beautiful hotel. Hopefully you can see our faces a lot better. Hopefully you can hear us a lot better. But this is what's being live all about, is being on the go.
On the fly, baby.
On the fly. So for those of you who just kind of got here, we are in Toronto, Canada. And we are here to talk about something really, really important to moms, is postpartum depression.
And it's important that we're talking about it, that we know the symptoms, and we're going to talk to you about that. Some treatment options. Tobi's going to share her story. Everyone needs to stick around for this because her story, just like everything about Tobi, is very unique.
I don't know if that's a compliment or if that's...
No, it is a compliment. It is very much a compliment, because she's a wonderful, very strong woman. And her story, just like when we all share our stories and we talk about the things that we struggle with and are very proud of the things we do well, that helps everyone when we talk about maybe our shortcomings, because I think as moms, sometimes it's really hard to admit that we have any.
Yeah.
Right?
It is. And we talk about how moms feel like we have to be the superheroes. we have to be the ones that are grounded and that can do everything for everybody except for ourselves. Mm-hmm. And postpartum depression is, things that we can't maybe handle everything by ourselves and that we need help. So I think we should talk a little bit about postpartum depression and baby blues, because there's definitely something different between the two.
Right. Postpartum depression and baby blues are two different things. So you can really think of baby blues as something that happens usually in the first week or two after your baby's born. It usually will last less than 10 days, and you have mild impairment. So,
and when you say impairment, what do you mean by that? Like give signs and symptoms of what baby blues and postpartum depression are.
Mm-hmm. So a sign of both baby blues and postpartum depression, you have disturbances in your sleep, your eating, and your mood. So maybe you're very irritable. Maybe you're really tired. Maybe you're really angry. But also, if you're sleeping a lot, like much more than you did before, or you're not sleeping much at all. So a good screening question actually for postpartum depression is when we ask moms, how are you sleeping? Because a lot of moms will say, hey, I just had a baby. I sleep. I like put my head near the pillow and I zonk out. Moms with postpartum depression, a lot of times, even when they have a chance to sleep, they can't.
Okay,
so
that's good to know.
Yeah, that's a great screening question. Also changes in eating. So if you find that, you're really hungry, you're eating a lot, or you're not eating much at all, those are also signs that you may have postpartum depression or baby blues. And the difference is baby blues is going to be mild impairment. So you're tired, or you're not eating a lot, or you have these symptoms that are actually pretty mild. You can still mostly function throughout your day. You can still
this is the baby blues. You're saying you can function, but you're having some of these problems. Right. Whereas with postpartum, you're saying you're not really able to function.
Right. The definition of depression is that you have your symptoms impair your life. They're severe enough that you're not able to function as you usually would, and it's for more than 14 days. Oh. So if you have a day or two of having depression symptoms and they go away, then you would not be diagnosed with postpartum depression.
Well, it sounds to me like when you're describing all of this, that it's really not necessarily a cut and dry situation. It could be baby blues. It could not be baby blues. It could be postpartum. It might not be. You're either sleeping or you're not sleeping. You're eating or you're not eating. You're sad or you're not sad.
Exactly.
You're angry or you're crying. So it sounds to me like it's really a hard thing to diagnose, and it gets really not noticed maybe like it should. Are there a lot of undiagnosed postpartum depression?
Yes. In fact, research shows that only about 20% of the moms that actually have postpartum depression are even diagnosed. And you're right that it would be hard to kind of tease out the symptoms between I'm a new mom and I'm really exhausted and my hormones are really crazy.
And I'm crying.
Mm-hmm. And the hard thing is that you and I could both have postpartum depression, but it could look completely different between the two of us. So it's really kind of a challenging thing to diagnose. But what's important is that we notice when our friends and family that maybe have had a baby, and remember, postpartum depression can hit anywhere in the first 12 months of life. So
that's a really big opening.
It really is. And that makes it,
you could be fine for 5 months and then just bam, postpartum depression.
And then postpartum depression hits. Yes, because we don't really have a good reason for why moms have postpartum depression. It could be hormonal, it could be sleep deprivation, but we know that there's a lot of different reasons why moms kind of get overwhelmed. Also feeling isolated. We know that moms that have postpartum depression often say that they feel like they're isolated and they're alone, and think about having these symptoms of really feeling low energy, irritable, like you're not enjoying life like you used to.
Which a lot of those are normal when you have a baby, especially for the first time. You're exhausted. You're trying to figure out what's going on. The baby cries all the time. Mm-hmm. So you could have postpartum, but you have no idea that you have it.
Exactly. And so it's important that your doctor screens you for postpartum depression. There's a questionnaire, and you have to basically answer yes to 5 of the symptoms that discuss really how much it's going to impair, your symptoms are impairing your daily functioning.
Now, what triggers the doctor to actually do this questionnaire?
Well, that's kind of the sad thing, is that it's not mandatory to do the screening. So if you don't say certain keywords to your doctor, there's a chance that you won't be screened. If you go to the doctor and you say everything's fine and you don't say certain things that might key your doctor into the fact that you're suffering with some depression, you may not be screened at all. And so you may not be
because we as moms might be embarrassed to admit that we're sleeping all the time, because we don't want someone to think, well, you're not taking care of your baby, or that, you know, that there's something wrong with us. So we don't want to necessarily tell our doctor, which is why maybe you said the 20%, that 80%, I don't know if all you guys caught that 80% of moms do not get diagnosed with that have it, but don't get diagnosed. And probably that key factor is, like you said, they actually don't get the screening because they don't maybe say certain things to the doctor.
Yeah, you put on the brave face, you say everything's fine.
Everything's fine.
And then, you don't get the screening, and then you just kind of suffer through it. And that's why it's important, really important, that we're talking about this today, and that you notice symptoms in your, friends and family group, that you're helping the women in your life, if they're suffering with postpartum depression, get them screened and try to get them the help they need.
Well, we're hoping today to share this and talk about this with moms, because we're hoping that maybe you yourself, in hearing this live, that you might see some of the things or hear some of the things going on in your own life which trigger you to get the screening that you need. Or, like you said, be aware of that in your family members that you could or friends that you can maybe help them to get the screening and get the help that they need. So the symptoms are all over the place, which makes it hard.
Yeah.
You could be agitated, you could be sad, you could be disconnected. That's like the third one. You could be not sleeping or sleeping all the time. Yeah, it's really a very big gray area. I can see why this is a really hard thing to diagnose. So, I'm going to share my story about my postpartum depression. And mine did not happen with my first child. It happened with my second. So I wasn't prepared or even aware that this was going on. Is there research that tells moms that are they more inclined to have with the first child as opposed to the second child, or is it the other way around?
Well, what research tells us is that moms that have it with one baby are more likely to have it with the next. The biggest risk factor for having postpartum depression is having it with the previous pregnancy. And we know that between 25 to 50% of moms that have postpartum depression with one child will have it with another.
So once you've had it, you're more inclined to get it again.
Correct.
But you've been diagnosed, so you're more aware of it, which is why those numbers probably go up, not that necessarily those numbers mean anything. It's just a more aware. So for me, my postpartum depression, once it was finally realized, I really didn't have a sleeping problem. I mean, I guess I had the same sleeping problem that I would have had having a child already and not being able to sleep with the second child. Mine, probably about the 2.5 month mark, so mine was a little later, I started just crying for no reason. And, I'm not really a crier.
She's not really a crier.
I'm not really a crier. And I was sitting in the doctor's office getting, I think it was my last kind of OB checkup. And I think my doctor asked me, how's everything going? And I just started bawling.
Okay. So red flag right there for her doctor.
Red flag. I just started bawling and I couldn't stop bawling. And there was no reason for the bawling.
Yeah.
But I felt like I was not doing what I was supposed to do for my baby. I felt like we had talked about some of other issues that have come up in the past with feeling of these things where you just need to walk outside, you know, and I had a lot of those kinds of feelings, and I thought that there was something wrong with me, but I didn't know how to tell anybody, and I didn't want to tell anybody. So when she asked, oh, how's everything going? You know, the little routine, I was like, it's awful. And I just was crying, and I couldn't stop crying. And she was like, I think you might have some postpartum depression. And I was like, no, I don't have postpartum depression. I mean, why would I be depressed? I'm happy. Yeah. As I'm bawling, I'm happy. You know, so she wrote me a prescription. There was really no discussion about anything specific. It was a prescription to take antidepressants. And I was a little worried about taking antidepressants while I was breastfeeding.
Right. And we know that it's actually safe to take antidepressants while you're breastfeeding. That a small amount of the medication will come through in your breast milk, but it's not an amount that would cause any issues with your baby. So if you need to take antidepressants, if you have a history of depression, and your doctor wants you to get back on them, please know that it's a safe thing to do.
And she did say that. She said it was okay for me to take those. But I was still worried about it. And sometimes antidepressant meds can be a stigma. Not that they are, but some moms can feel that way. So even though they're given to you, you don't take them. For me, it was like a crutch. Like I knew it was there if I needed it. And I think that helped a little bit, but not really, because I still was crying at home a lot, and my husband had no idea at all what to do for me. I mean, he was just like, take the medication, Tobi. And I'm like, but I mean, it was just so, it was like I was trapped, and I didn't know how to get out of it. And I knew I had help, but I don't know if I knew how to take that help. And I think a lot of moms are going to experience that and have experienced that.
Because we don't want to admit we need help.
No. You know? We don't want to admit that it's not that we're failing, but it sounds like we're failing. Yeah. And, you know, and failed. I didn't want to fail. I didn't want to be that mom who, gosh, I didn't want to, I told you I don't cry, but now I'm crying. I didn't want to be that mom that I kind of viewed it as a cop-out. And I know it's not, but I kind of viewed it, if I admitted it or accepted it, that it was a cop-out. Yeah. And I don't think
it's not. And I think there's this idea that any type of acceptance of help, and any time we say, I can't handle this, that's going to be seen as us failing. I remember I had mastitis with my second at 3 days postpartum, and I felt like such a loser. Like, what is going on with my body? How could I have mastitis? I have people coming over to see the new baby, and I feel terrible. But, you know, I mean, it's so crazy to think about it now. And it's crazy, like, for me to listen to you say that you felt, you know, like a failure.
But I wasn't going to admit it. Yeah. So not admitting it and thinking that it was failing and thinking that it was a cop-out actually harmed me more and made, you know, my experience with my baby even worse, because I would get stressed out. I would cry. I would get angry. I would have to lay her down and walk out of the room, and I had to do that more and more and more. And I started really thinking that there was something wrong. But it took a long time for me to admit that to myself. And that's what I don't want you moms to do. I don't want you to admit it. It's okay. Now, I ended up not actually taking the pills. This is a kind of a funny story. So it's a laughing one. I don't know. It depends on your sense of humor. But my brother-in-law was visiting us, and he's a video gamer. He's younger than we are. And he was playing a zombie killing game. And I was like sitting there one night because I couldn't sleep. I was the couldn't sleep person, not sleeping all the time. And I was like watching him play this video game thinking, you're so, how can you play this stupid game? And he's like, come on, Tobi, play with me. It's a 2-person game. Play with me. I'm like, I'm like 35 years old. I'm not playing a video game. That's such a, just play it, Toby. Just play it. So I started playing this video game, and I got really into it, and I would get up, and I'd be walking towards the TV, and it was you could kill the zombies, with weapons, or you could kill them with a guitar.
So what do you think she chose?
I chose the guitar, and I would run around in the game, but I would kind of run around in the living room, and I would hit the zombies with the guitar, and it would go ding and bling, and it made all these stupid noises. But I would like yell at the TV, and I'm like, come on, get him, get him, get him, get him. And it was really funny because I felt better after playing that game one time. And he's just laughing at me going, Toby, you could sit on the couch and play this game. I don't know why you're getting up. That doesn't help you. And I'm like, I don't know. I feel like I should be moving around when I do play this game. So I started doing it, not every day, but every night. A lot of times it was at night when I couldn't sleep, and he was a night owl because he didn't really have to work. He just hung out at our house, slept on our couch. But I had to thank him for that. I had to thank that situation because here it is, 1 a.m, I'm not sleeping, and I would get up and play this zombie beat 'em up video game with a guitar where I was hitting. Oh, we have a lot of people on. I wonder if that means we should start over. We should. Okay. Look, there's like 67 people. Hi, everybody. We have been talking for 20 minutes to not a lot of people. So we're so glad everyone is here. Welcome to the Boob Tube. I don't know if you can edit out the whole beginning part. I see the hearts. We are in Toronto, Canada. And we originally were supposed to start a little while ago, but we were outside in this awesome spot, and we had the Toronto sign, and we had like fountains behind us.
It was gorgeous.
And we couldn't get internet, or it didn't work. So instead, we are now sitting on the floor in the hotel with random people walking by, talking to you moms about.
And this is an important topic. I'm so glad that we have people here today to talk about it and learn a little bit more about the symptoms.
Yes. So the thing is postpartum depression. How do you get diagnosed with it, and what are the signs and symptoms?
So signs and symptoms of postpartum depression. There's a few of them that are kind of the hallmark signs, and really it's kind of like the normal signs of depression, which is much, eating too little, sleeping too much, sleeping too little, not enjoying the things that you used to enjoy, feeling isolated or isolating yourself. And one thing that we haven't really talked about is wanting to hurt yourself or your baby. And these are symptoms that a lot of moms don't want to admit to because, I mean, honestly,
you don't want people to judge you. You don't want people to think you're a bad mom. So if you say you're sleeping too much, as opposed to not sleeping off, you say you're sleeping too much, then they go, well, are you not taking care of your child? So no one wants to admit they're sleeping too much.
Right.
If you say that you're angry with your child, then someone's going to judge you and say, well, you're not a good mom. So no one wants to admit any of these things.
Right. And there's also a fear that somebody's going to take your baby away from you. I mean, if you mood disorders and you're, feeling, like hurting yourself, be a situation where people feel, unsafe about you being alone with your baby, and no mother, I think, wants to put herself at risk for that. So,
and Miranda said really she missed we were talking about postpartum depression, and there's actually two kinds of depression. There, well, I guess not depression, but there's, and then there's postpartum depression. And the problem is that it's hard to tell the difference between the two.
It can be. Exactly.
So they have very similar symptoms.
They do. So baby blues usually happens within the first week or two after having your baby. So very early postpartum is baby blues. Your symptoms are much more mild. So whether you're sleep disorder, disordered eating, anger, and things like that. You're having symptoms and you feel impaired, but you're still kind of able to control it, and you're still kind of able to function. Your functioning isn't so much impaired.
And it doesn't last as long.
It doesn't last as long. Usually we diagnose postpartum depression symptoms that last more than 2 weeks, where baby blues are usually going to last less than a week.
And you're right, Caitlin. This is something that moms don't talk about. I think this is a dirty, kept secret because no one wants to admit being a failure. And the problem is that then moms become isolated in these feelings, and she doesn't get the help that she needs. And then, of course, all these symptoms, if you guys hear them, they're all over the place. You're either sleeping too much or not sleeping enough. You're hungry or you're not hungry. You're angry and it could be baby blues, so they're mild, or it could be postpartum and they're severe. So it's hard for the actual medical field to diagnose.
It is hard. And we know that only 20% of moms that have postpartum depression symptoms are even diagnosed. So that means 80% of moms are dealing with postpartum depression.
That's huge.
Right. And the thing is that you and I could both have postpartum depression, but it looks completely different for both of us.
Okay.
But that doesn't mean we're not dealing with the same feelings of isolation, feelings of being overwhelmed. And
overwhelmed, I think, was a big one for me.
Yeah.
And sadness was a big one for me, and not being able to sleep. Now, I know you had said something earlier when we were talking before everyone came on, but we'll mention that again. And don't mind the random people that are behind us, because again, we're sitting on the floor in the hotel.
But we have Wi-Fi, so that's the important thing.
That's what I think, because we wouldn't have anybody. But is that it's something that postpartum actually can show up very late in the game of having a baby.
It's anywhere between
and then we lose. Oh yeah, they're
okay, we're back.
Okay, hi. We kind of lost you guys. Hopefully everyone's still there. Okay, so back to what you were saying, Helen. You were saying that it could be up to 12 months before you get postpartum depression.
Yeah. It looks different in different people. It comes on. Leave a little short comment, or I'd like to talk about what your experience was, maybe what worked for you, if we can get some suggestions for moms that may be dealing with it right now. What can we try?
We're hoping that this discussion, that this boob tube today, which normally we're all about boobs, but today we're all about something not boobs, but boob connected, is that maybe in talking about this, we're getting moms aware of what's maybe going on right now for them. Or if you're a mom who's doing okay, but have a friend or a family member who is feeling some of these things, that you're more aware of it and recognize, because the most important thing is actually recognizing it and getting the help that you're going to need.
Yeah.
So you were talking about why it might get misdiagnosed. I think you had said there's a screening for it. And I think here's what happens. What triggers the screening?
So you have to say some keywords to your doctor to be screened. Usually screening happens if your doctor does on a regular basis at month 1, 2, and 4.
Okay.
And, if you come in and you say everything's great and breastfeeding's going awesome.
Which is what we always say.
We always say that.
Great, everything's fine. Yeah. There's no problem.
Your doctor it's not a mandatory screening. So
it's not mandatory.
It's not a mandatory screening.
I think it should be mandatory.
It should be, because not everybody says those keywords. Like you came into your doctor's office.
Mine was about, so I'm going to share my story, the beginning part, and then maybe the ending part. So I was about 2 months. I was getting my 2-month checkup, and she walked in the room, you know, and was like, "So how's everything going?" And I just literally started crying, and I couldn't stop crying. And that triggered her to say, "What's wrong? What's going on?" And I'm like, "I don't know." And I'm crying. I'm like, "Everything's fine." But it wasn't fine.
But I can't stop crying.
It wasn't fine because I was secretly having those feelings of anger and frustration and feeling like something was wrong with me, that I was not a good mom, that I never had this problem with my first child. What's wrong with me with my second child? I can't do this. And I didn't want to admit of any of this. So I was doing this all by myself, all alone. My husband wasn't even aware that this was going on until I started bawling and couldn't stop. So that triggered her to say, "I think you have postpartum depression." And it definitely, if I had not cried, I would have still been at home suffering.
And dealing with it in isolation.
I would have been at 80%.
And that's why it's important that you all here are, you know the symptoms of postpartum depression. One thing that a lot of moms report is that they feel isolated after they have a baby, and who can't relate to that, right? I can relate to that.
We're raising our hands?
Yeah, everybody that can relate. And I'm seeing in our comments that there's a lot of people that have reached out for help and haven't gotten the help they need. So keep reaching out. There's going to be someone that's going to be able to connect you with. Hopefully something's going to work for you.
The key is to talk about it too. You know what, moms? We feel like we are superheroes, and we are. We are superheroes. But even superheroes have kryptonite.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's what Superman. But even superheroes need a little help. Even superheroes struggle. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with you needing help or having to admit to struggling with something. And I think that's the most important thing I want all you moms to know, is that the stronger you are, sometimes the harder you fall, you know, and there's nothing wrong with needing help and with needing to admit that. There's a lot of different ways of handling postpartum depression. I was given prescription for antidepressants, and there's nothing wrong with that at all. Please know that. But for myself, I had this thought of, well, I'm not going to take these. I mean, if I do that, there's something wrong with me. And I wonder if a lot of moms feel the same way. I see Sherry saying she totally can relate. I don't think there's anything wrong with being on the medicines, but at the same time,
Amanda, thanks for talking about that.
There's nothing wrong with that. That's my own hang up. That was my own stigma I put on myself. So in the end, I had medication and didn't take it. I just sat there and kept crying and kept struggling and kept being miserable when I had medication. And that was really my own thing. And I think I worried that it was going to get into my breast milk, even though I don't think it does.
No, it doesn't. In fact, antidepressants are totally safe to take while you're breastfeeding. There is a small amount of medication that will go into your breast milk, but it's not a dose that's going to affect your baby.
So I think in the end, like we said, we get in our own way. So I had the medication, I had what I needed, but I think for another month and a half, suffered, which I did to myself, which I should not have done. And it was really hard. I was up at 1 o'clock in the morning, crying, and I love seeing these stories. One night for me, the turnaround, the beginning of the light for me was a really weird story. My brother-in-law was visiting and sleeping on the couch, and he's a gamer, so he's up at 1, 2, 3 in the morning playing video games. And of course, I'm sitting there staring at the TV, watching him do this, and he was like, "Tobi, why don't you play this video game with me?" And I said, "I'm 35 years old. I'm not playing a video game. I mean, I'm above that. I'm not doing that." And he was like, "Come on, Tobi, just play it. It's a zombie killing video game." And I'm like, so I finally went ahead and started playing it. And, you know, I really kind of started kind of getting into it, I was up and I was getting close to the TV with the remote, and you have different options in this game to kill the zombies, different weapons, and one of the weapons was a guitar. You could kill the zombies with a guitar. You just kind of hit them, and as you hit them, it would go ring, like the strums, and ding, and it made all these really funny noises. So I started. I'm getting up and I'm hitting these zombies, and he's laughing at me because he's like, Tobi, what are you doing? You can sit on the couch and do that. I'm like, no, I gotta be moving around. I gotta be doing that. But it was funny because I felt better. I felt better after being and doing that, and it was something that helped me. I'm sure it's not PC. Right. To say that I got through my postpartum depression by playing violent video games where I killed zombies with a guitar. Yeah. I'm sure that's not a normal thing, but
it is, and we can talk about that. And first, I want to thank Debbie and Gabby and Jessica and all the other moms that have shared probably tough stories to talk about dealing with your own postpartum depression. And just know that every time we share, we're helping other people.
Every time we share, and sharing these heartfelt stories and how we got through them, I think is crucial. And that's what the Boob Tube is all about, is for us to educate and help and be supportive. Each other. Yeah. And know that you're not alone. That this has happened to more,
so many moms. Yeah. How long can it last if it's not treated? So it can last, you can be diagnosed anywhere in the first 12 months, and it can go on
for years.
Yeah, until you've really dealt with it. And treatment can be either the traditional kind of a talk therapy, group therapy, therapy that's home visits, medication as well. One thing that helps, and I want to kind of look at Tobi's, what helped her in term and kind of recognize what's traditional about it. And one of the things that I really like about Tobi's story is that she was with people, right? She wasn't isolated.
I was with people, even though I was resenting that I was with somebody.
Your brother-in-law that's crashing on her couch, right? So, but we know that moms that struggle with postpartum depression often are isolated. And we isolate ourselves because, first of all, we don't have the energy to deal, right? We can barely deal with what's going on in our own lives. And then, to think about being social and kind of putting on this nice face for everybody.
That
when you're feeling terrible.
Smile.
Yeah.
That everything is okay.
That really feels like a lot. So you were interacting with someone, you're getting up, you're moving around. We know that the endorphins that come from exercise, but also come from playing an exciting game. I mean, you were enjoying yourself.
I was
beating
laughing.
Zombies to death with guitars.
He was laughing at me, and I was laughing at myself, which laughter goes so far and really, can really help. And I like what you said, because really, I never even looked at it that way. I was with somebody.
You were laughing. Laughing is therapeutic.
It is.
Just having these belly laughs uncontrollably. If you can just watch a stupid movie, be with people that are positive. I know sometimes we kind of can surround ourselves with the people that we have to be around, and maybe.
And we think, like Jessica says, we think we have to be the perfect mom.
Yeah.
And there's no such thing. Mom, being a mom is messy.
But I think, ladies, too, that the more you care for yourself, the better you are able to care for your children. So that time that you spend caring for yourself, it comes back to your kids. It really does, because you're better prepared to deal with what they're dealing with. And I'm so glad there's moms that are sharing about what they're going through. I think that's so important. And I think that we just need to take some time, focus on ourselves, and say, in order for me to be the best caregiver I can be, I need to be a caregiver for myself.
And we need to be able to talk about it. And that's what we don't do.
And I think, Jessica, that's a great question. How do you make yourself not feel guilty? Just by telling yourself, I need this so that I can be prepared for everything that comes at me from my family. Right? I have 3 kids and a husband, and all these other things. And I know that sometimes it's tough to keep a smile on your face with everything that you have to do throughout the day, but you can't do it with a frown, right? You have to do it in a way that's nurturing and kind. And
well, you are going to feel, but see, the thing is, you are going to feel guilty, and how you make yourself, you know, I guess not deal with that is you're pulled out of a situation and you become distracted. And I think being distracted can help you not focus on the natural thing is to feel guilty that you're happy when your child's not with you. And that's just the key is it's going to be different for every mom. Like we always talk about on the Boob Tube is that every mom has her own story and every mom has her own journey. And a lot of times some of those journeys overlap and those stories overlap. And that's what we love about that. But then everyone has their own journey and their own experiences, and those individual experiences are going to be what makes us even more superheroes. I want a cape. I want a cape.
Well,
I
like
like Supermom.
Supermom. But I like Sherry's question and Jessica's question about how, you know, what do you do with your kids when you need me time? And I think that there's a lot of us, and I don't know what your individual situation is, but a lot of times we have people around us that offer to help out, whether it's family or friends, and a lot of times we feel guilty taking them up on that.
We won't take them up on it because that means we're admitting to failure.
Yes, we're admitting it. No, I got it. No, I can be with my kids 24/7. I don't need any time for myself. You know, maybe you can for a while.
Yeah.
But you're going to get burnt out and you need time to recharge.
And it's okay.
And that's okay. And if your kids are older, think about, you know, an art program or a sports program or something where, you know, maybe they're in dance for a half hour once a week, you know, and you get a chance to read a book. You know, there's a lot of things, if we really kind of search for those ways for our kids to be safe and away from us, you don't have to feel guilty about that because you're recharging your mom batteries. And when you pick up your son or daughter, you're going to be so glad to see them. You're going to miss them. You're going to hug them, and you're going to be ready for whatever they can dish out.
Yeah. So one of our moms asked Gabby, what if no one asks? And that happens sometimes too.
Oh, yeah.
And here's the thing, moms, that sometimes we have to ask for help. And did the lighting just change? Because I got so much brighter. But we have to ask. And you know what we do? We don't do it because we think if we ask, then we're going to be judged. And maybe we are going to be judged. But you know what? Not getting that help is worse than doing it. Than taking that moment. Than having that little bit that you need. Because you know what? It's okay because we've got so many moms talking about it. That means that there's moms that understand. They really do. We just got to give them the opportunity to be there for us.
I think so.
And
and I like
and family.
What Amanda is saying and what Tiffany is saying, that you are reaching out for help, that you're asking your partners to help out, care for the baby so that you can have some time for yourself. And I think that's great. And you know what? If people want to make you feel guilty about needing to recharge your mom batteries, just know that we understand and we are not making you feel guilty. We are, you know, we love our children very much, and we take time to recharge our those, you know, they need to understand that too. So just know that if people are making you feel guilty,
they're just somebody who doesn't understand. You know, it doesn't mean they're a bad person. It doesn't mean that, you know, that it doesn't mean anything. It just means that they don't understand.
Right.
And that there's going to be somebody else that does. Yeah. You know, I know I saw a question, April, where how to make my mood better. And I see that, you know, Sherry answered a way that she does it with essential oils that lift up her mood. And it's going to be different for everybody. Me, it was beating zombies with a guitar.
You could try that.
On a video game. So it's not politically correct, and maybe it's not in any book.
Yeah.
But it worked good for me.
Yeah.
You know, I think that you just got to find something. I think it's something that can get you distracted, be it just hanging out with your girlfriends and having a glass of wine and, I don't know, making...
But wait a minute, what about sex? Like, I think sex could be also really therapeutic for this.
It can.
we can say that. We're all grown-ups here. But sometimes... Sex can work. And sometimes it doesn't feel like it's time.
But
and that's okay.
If you're kind of mad at your husband, then, you know, you might not be in the mood.
Yeah. Well, I'm not saying that it's the perfect, but don't overlook it. Don't overlook it. Don't overlook sex and orgasms is something that could really help your mood. She said orgasm
on the Boob Tube. It is a environment.
Amy, what if you lack support? So I think that a lot of us do lack some support. I mean, we're in situations where our husbands or our boyfriends are not supportive or they're busy and maybe we don't have family or friends in the area. Look for support. Look for it. You might have a La Leche League, maybe a mom group at your hospital.
Or a mom group online. Find a mom group online.
Yeah.
I mean, that could be, you know, just being able to talk about it and, again, get distracted and finding a group or a few people or somebody that you can talk to, you know, you'd be amazed at how much that little bit helps.
Yeah, even going to the park sometimes is helpful. You can meet other moms there. Depending on your personality, some people have a really hard time starting conversations. I know sometimes, you know, it's kind of tough for me to start just random conversations. But, you know, if you're in a...
You are a wallflower?
Well, in different situations.
Okay.
But
That's true.
So you're in a book group. Right? I mean, you have something to talk about. Maybe you're in a wine group. Maybe you're,
I like a wine group. That's a good one.
You know, I have a lot of friends that are doing, like, selling different stuff.
See, I saw a little light. That was for the, there's another one. That's for the wine group. And some hearts for the wine group.
But I have friends that are having jewelry parties or having legging parties or having candle parties.
Legging
parties. Go to these parties. Just go. It doesn't mean you have to buy anything. But I get invited.
Buy stuff on each.
Or you could.
Feel great. Yeah. I mean, that's the thing is that everybody's going to have something different that works for them.
Right.
So I know we've shared a lot of our stories, but we haven't shared a lot of what has helped individually. You know, as I said, mine is the weird video game, you know, beating zombies with a guitar. You know, I want to hear what, you know, you guys, I would love for you to share what worked for you so that maybe moms can try those things out. Because I think that's important, is to try what is going to work for you in it, and it's going to be something different for each mom. It's going to be something different. And the key is people, though.
Yeah. A lot of people want to be isolated, or they feel isolated with postpartum depression. So recognize that in yourself, but recognize it in others, and reach out, you know, try to be there, try to recognize the symptoms that you're able to help friends or family that are dealing with it. And
tell your doctor.
Yeah. Talk to your doctor.
I think that's crucial.
And if your doctor doesn't listen, get another doctor.
Get a different doctor.
Get another doctor. Yeah.
No, they're good doctors. They're good doctors. They're good. So, I mean, I feel like we've talked a lot about some stuff. We've talked about, you know, postpartum depression, the recognition of it, how to be aware of it, how it's not diagnosed that much.
And one thing that I want to talk about too is dads can have postpartum depression as well.
No way.
Well, they can. They don't have the same hormones that we do, but
I shouldn't say no way. I'm sorry.
We have our lack of sleep. We have our stress of having, you know, this new responsibility in your life. And depending on how prepared you feel for that responsibility, dads can definitely be affected by postpartum depression too.
What's the percentage of dads that?
Well, you know what's interesting? It's kind of a big percent. It's 1 to 26%.
Which means it does.
So we don't have good numbers on that. We don't have good numbers.
1 to 26.
But it's something to be aware of, that maybe you're doing okay. Check your partner out. How's he doing?
How's he doing?
Is he?
We already have to do everything for him right now. You know, we're going to have to worry about his postpartum depression.
So something to think about, and I just want to touch briefly on Tobi's experience, that she had postpartum depression with her second, and she didn't have it with her first. And there's a lot of research about lack of sleep being kind of one of the key symptoms of postpartum depression. And I saw up in our comments, there was a mom that talked about how she couldn't sleep. And that was really
that was my
hard
big
for
thing. I
her,
couldn't sleep.
that she couldn't sleep. And so if you're having a friend that you're not sure is maybe dealing with postpartum depression, or you're not sure if you're dealing with it, sleep disturbances are a really good sign, because honestly, you're dealing with a baby. You're probably gonna be asleep before your head hits the pillow. If you're not, that's a sign that there might be something of concern going on. But what we see a lot of times with our second babies is that, people tell you to sleep when your baby's sleeping, since you're up all night feeding, possibly. Once you're chasing another toddler around,
there's somebody else you have to help.
That's not realistic advice anymore. No. So we're even more sleep deprived. We're even more caring for not only a new baby, but also for our older child, which may have just as many needs.
Maybe your husband.
Maybe your husband. So, even if you didn't have postpartum depression with your first, there's a good chance with your subsequent, your second, third, fourth, fifth,
that you could be fine with all four, and that fifth one was just the straw that broke the camel's back.
So
and it's okay. Mm-hmm. The biggest thing is to know that it's okay, to know that you're not a bad mom. There's so many of us that have been there, and I just don't want you to be there alone. Mm-hmm. I don't want you to struggle alone. Mm-hmm. That's the most important thing.
So I love our group. We have such a wonderful community here, and I love how so many of our moms are talking about this. And it's a really subject that's not talked about enough. And I'm so glad I'm so glad we're discussing it here today. And I hope that you're able to kind of recognize symptoms in yourself. And I'm so glad that we had so many people share. And I thank you so much for that.
And please definitely, this video is going to be on Facebook forever. Mm-hmm. So please share that. I don't know how the beginning part of the video is going to be, because I think we did it twice, because we didn't have a lot of people in the beginning, and then we had lots of people, so we kind of talked twice. But I hope this video gets shared. I hope it goes viral. And I hope we have moms across the world talking about how they experience postpartum depression, and that we make it an acceptable thing instead of something that we hide.
That's right.
All right?
Mm-hmm.
So we love you guys, and look for our next Boob Tube next month, where, we're going to be talking about something else.
Yeah. But you're going to love it.
You're going to love it. And we won't be on a hotel floor. Well, I don't know. Maybe we might be.
Never know with us.
All right, we love everybody. Thank you so much for coming and seeing the Boob Tube. Postpartum depression. We're gonna be all about it. Okay, moms?
Okay.
Love you guys.
Bye.
Bye.